Welcome to Memories Embraced by Katy. I am so glad you're here, and I hope everybody is doing well in this time that we are in. It is definitely not something I ever imagined, but we are here. I am trying very hard to embrace every memory that I can during this time. It is very difficult being the teacher. I know a lot of you either do this on the regular basis or not, and you're in the same boat that I am, that your kids just do not want to work well with you. But put that aside, let's dig into this recipe that I created out of my memory quite a while back. So let's get started. As you can see, I am starting off by sauteing a whole bunch of cut up bacon. We're going to get that good and crispy and set it off to the side here after it gets good and crispy, because you don't want soggy bacon in this recipe. It will not be very tasty. So let's get that sauteed up, and you can see that I have a pot on the other burner working for the Orzo. I am using Orzo in this recipe because I've never used Orzo. We've never had Orzo, and it sounded amazing. So I am getting the water boiling for that, and that will be coming up later in the video. Alright, so my water is getting close to boiling, so thank goodness, because it seems like when you watch water try to boil, it doesn't ever want to boil for you. Am I right? Maybe it's just me. So I was like, you know what, screw it, we're just going to dump it in and turn up the heat. Then here's my bacon. As you can see, the pan got a little emptier because obviously I was not paying much of attention the first go round and added way too much to my pan, and it was just not gonna crisp up. So I dumped out most of the bacon, dumped out the oil, and started with little batches at a time so it would crisp up so much faster. As you can see, it is turning out way better than my first go round. So don't put too much in your pan because it does not work out very well, which I know better. I should have paid more attention, but I was excited for this recipe and I was hungry. Alright, so here I am just making sure that I stir the pasta, because if you just let it sit in there, it will stick to the bottom. And so just make sure you stir it occasionally as it comes up to a boil and finishes off cooking. I also work on finishing up the bacon and getting it good and crisp, and just adding different layers as I empty out the bacon onto the sheet with paper towels. I add some more in, but I don't video all of it for you because, I mean, who needs to see us crisping up bacon every few minutes? So you know how to crisp it up. There's the bacon. Looks great. The orzo is almost done. I'm going to check it, make sure it's al dente. And here is my pot of onions and green peppers, because I needed to use up these green peppers, and I was like, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to saute those up, and then I will show you what I do to those later. Now I'm going to make my roux for my cheese sauce, and you start with butter, and then I don't measure anything. I just go by, I don't know, sight and feel and taste and all that good stuff. I've never been really good at measuring when I'm making, when I'm cooking. Baking is a different story. So I add in some flour, mix it up a little bit, see how I'm feeling about it, and I go from there. So everybody does their roux different. I totally get that. It's all up to you. But I wanted to get this good and thick for my cheese sauce, because we will be adding cheese as we get closer to the end. So I am just stirring this around to make sure that I cook down the flour, because if you don't cook down the flour a little bit, then it's going to taste like flour, and it's never very pleasant when eating. So it's getting good and bubbly and cooking down, so I'm going to add my whisk in here. While the whisk is just the only way to get this stirred in correctly when you're adding your cream. I did use heavy cream because I had it to use up, so we used heavy whipping cream, and I just kept stirring it until it became a nice thicker sauce. Then after the sauce started to thicken up a little bit after cooking for a while, I decided to start adding my cheese. Now, I did not have any specific cheese that I was using for this recipe. I just used what I had. I believe I used Colby Jack because I had a big old chunk of it, and I just cut it into cubes, or I shredded it. I can't even remember, but we'll see here soon. Apparently I was off in La La Land while this was cooking down, and so there's just a whole lot of bubbling going on and me not doing anything. So typical of me cooking. That's usually how things get burnt, am I right? So I've been watching Brandon Ferris way too much and getting quite funny jokes from him, and just feeling more jokey in my videos as well. So as you can see, I cubed up my Colby Jack and put it in here to start melting. So stirring it, finally. Thank God it didn't burn. So I'm stirring in the Colby Jack, and then we like a lot of cheese in our family. Like, we're ridiculous cheese people. I have to buy a lot of cheese. So then I decided, let's add some mozzarella. So I had some mozzarella, so we're going to use, well, that is probably not mozzarella. That is probably, that's probably Colby Jack. And then I don't remember what my cheeses are called. I am terrible. But anyway, it's a white cheese, and I don't think it's mozzarella. I think it's Colby Jack. I don't know, the white cheese that has Jack in the name. That's all I can tell you. And then I believe I added a big ol' scoop of my cream cheese that is flavored garlic and herb, like what you get for your bagels. We weren't eating it on bagels, so I was like, you know what? We're just gonna use a big ol' scoop of that in this recipe. And holy macaroni, that made it taste amazing. Good and garlicky, good and flavored. So I used that, and apparently I decided it needed to thin out a little bit, so we added some milk. And then we continue stirring, breaking up that giant cream cheese, trying not to make a mess, but I am a messy cook, so they always say, don't trust a skinny cook, and if the kitchen's clean, well, then they're not a very good cook either. I don't know. I don't know the saying. I know the first one, don't trust a skinny cook. I don't know anything about the clean kitchen. Messy cooks, I know, are always supposed to be like the greatest cooks ever. And that would be me. I am a very messy cook, and I hate cleaning up afterwards, especially when I bake. Am I the only one out there that hates cleaning the kitchen after cooking and baking? Please say I'm not. So, sounds like my kids are getting a little restless doing their own thing, so we may be cutting this short here real soon, but apparently I walk away from the stove yet again. Not sure what I'm doing, but apparently I'm not stirring. Just trying to let this simmer down, I guess, and melt together. I know you are probably already gone from this video. I am so sorry that I am terrible at YouTube videos, but I am trying, and mainly I did this video in order to remember this recipe, so later when I want to make it again, I know what I'm doing. So, because, you know, I've discovered if I make a recipe that I've never made before and I film it, at least I know that if it's a good recipe, I can keep the video and upload it for you guys along with myself, so I can always go back and check it out. Finally, I come back to stirring. It's amazing. So I'm going to stir this down, get it all melted, make sure it's incorporating well. Then we're getting ready to come to our onions and peppers. I believe that's what I was doing away from the stove for so long, because in this next clip you will see me dump in the onions and peppers, which I put in the processor and process them into little bitty little chunks, because I didn't want big chunks in this, but I wanted to use up the peppers and onions and use that flavor in this. So pretty sure that's what I'm doing when I'm not over here stirring my pot of cheese sauce. So we are getting ready to add in some, looks like I added in a little bit of salt, because apparently it didn't taste salty enough, which I don't think I seasoned in any of these clips whatsoever, which, typical me, don't capture everything, right? Alright, here comes the clip where we are going to dump in our onions and peppers. So, let it dump. And this sauce was so good. Now the onions and peppers, I did season with salt and pepper, so the salt always helps break down the onions and cook them down. So I stirred this in. I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it because I'm not a big green pepper person, like cooking with them and stuff. But this turned out so flavorful. My husband loved it. Of course, he wanted more meat in it because he likes more meat with his pasta. But the bacon at the end, where you just kind of mix it all together, added a great touch. You can always add any kind of meat that you want, or no meat at all. Totally up to you. So, not sure what I'm doing now. Probably cleaning up the mess of peppers and onion container before I come back and decide to finish stirring up this and getting things ready to incorporate everything together and make... Oh, I had more. I had a huge batch, I guess, so. Alright, so this is pretty much the end. After I put this all together, I just made us bowls, scooped it together, and took it out to him because he was out working outside. He loved it. I put it in a bowl, the Orzo in a bowl, put the cheese sauce over the top, mixed it up a little bit. I had some more salt and pepper, I see. And then I just sprinkled bacon over it, so it was phenomenal. I hope you guys try it and enjoy.